The Voice heats up over Fireman singing Morgan Wallen cover. During the recent competition on The Voice, a firefighter gets the room moving with his Morgan Wallen cover. After his performance, things heat up between coaches vying for his vote. Fireman Dakota Talmadge gets the coaches spinning. In the March 11 episode of The Voice, 20-year-old firefighter Dakota Talmadge caught the attention of several coaches with his raspy rendition of Morgan Wallen's Sand in My Boots. While the young singer belts out the song, John Legend, Dan Smyers, and Shay Mooney spin their chairs around during the blind audition. Country music duo Dan and Shay, along with John, gave Dakota a standing ovation at the end of his performance. Then banter began between John and the combo team of Dan and Shay. The Voice coach, John Legend, makes his case initially. The Voice coach and R&B singer, John Legend, makes his case for joining his team, saying, "What I love the most about your voice is just that little scratch in it." Then he continues, "It's such a cool tone. It's breathy. It's just a lovely voice to listen to. And I know I can be a great coach for you, even if I didn't grow up listening to country music. I do know what a great song is, and I do know how to help you plan a great performance." Team Legend. It's not the traditional choice, it's not the obvious choice, but it's an excellent choice. But Dan and Shay heckle back saying, "It's not the right choice." The Voice team Dan and Shay go after Dakota. While things heated up in the battle for Dakota Talmadge, the Voice coaches Dan and Shay spar for their team to be chosen. Badgering John Legend, the country duo picked at everything he said to dismantle the reasons for Dakota to choose John. Dan name drops that they personally know Morgan Wallen and Carrie Underwood. And John tries to win some ground by adding he once won a CMT award with Carrie in 2021 for Hallelujah. Then Dan and Shay keep at it by saying, "Honestly, we have no one like you on our team, and you would be an absolute standout. I promise you that," jokingly mentioning they don't have any firefighters at all on their team. Then adding some flattering, "Man, your voice sounds like it should be on country radio right now," Dan Smyers says. "It was incredible. And you really opened up. You've got a lot of power to your voice, man." The Voice battle ends with Dakota's choice. Both Reba McEntire and Chance, the rapper, opted to pass on Dakota Talmadge, noting that he was a bit pitchy in his performance. However, Chance complimented him on being funny, then proceeded to tell him to lean into that during the remainder of the competition. But in the end, Dakota Talmadge selected Dan and Shay's team, which made both country musicians' day, exclaiming, "That's what I'm talking about, and that's our guy." Dan Smyers also elaborates, "His performance was amazing," adding, "That was exactly what we were looking for, somebody with that country twang." What did you think about Dakota Talmadge? Did you enjoy his Morgan Wallen cover performance on The Voice? Drop your comments below. In the world of reality singing competitions, the occasional breakout star shines through from the most unexpected places. This season of The Voice has seen its fair share of emotional performances, stunning vocal acrobatics, and the usual drama that comes with choosing teams. But few moments have ignited the show quite like the night a humble fireman took the stage and sang a Morgan Wallen cover that left everyone, judges and audience alike, stunned. It started like any other evening on The Voice. The red chairs faced away from the stage, and the judges were preparing themselves for yet another round of hopeful singers, unaware of what was about to happen. The contestant for this particular performance, a fireman from a small town in Tennessee named Jack Colton. Dressed in simple jeans, boots, and a well-worn t-shirt, Jack looked the part of an everyday hero, a man more comfortable climbing ladders and rescuing cats from trees than standing under the intense lights of a national stage. But the moment he opened his mouth, the show's mood shifted. Jack chose to sing a cover of Morgan Wallen's hit song, "Cover Me Up," a deeply emotional and raw ballad that Wallen, himself a Tennessee native, had made famous with his raspy voice and soulful delivery. It's a song with weight about love, vulnerability, and finding shelter in someone when the world feels too much. Not the easiest song to tackle, especially on such a high-profile platform. Yet, Jack wasn't intimidated. He approached the song with the ease of a seasoned performer, his voice carrying the same gravelly warmth that fans of country music love about Wallen. As soon as Jack's voice filled the room, the atmosphere became electric. The judges Blake Shelton, Gwen Stefani, Niall Horan, and John Legend sat up a little straighter. Their hands hovered over their buzzers as they listened intently. The audience, too, leaned in, sensing something special in the air. Colton's voice wasn't just good, it was authentic, filled with the kind of lived experience that can't be taught in a rehearsal room. He began the song softly, almost conversationally, as if telling a story he'd told 1,000 times, but still carried the emotional resonance of the first. His voice swelled as he hit the chorus. "So girl, leave your boots by the bed, we ain't leaving this room." And it was clear that this wasn't just a cover, it was a personal rendition. Jack wasn't imitating Wallen. He was bringing something of his own to the song, a tenderness that suggested he understood the lyrics on a deeply personal level. You could feel the longing in his voice, the vulnerability, as if he'd lived every word. By the time Jack reached the song's climax, Blake Shelton had already slammed his buzzer, his chair whipping around to face the stage. Blake, a country music icon himself, couldn't hide his grin. Here was a guy who understood what country music was all about: telling stories, being real, and connecting with people on a human level. Soon after, Gwen Stefani followed, intrigued by Jack's raw emotion and unique voice. Niall and John exchanged glances, clearly impressed, but held off on pressing their buzzers, perhaps recognizing that this was a moment tailor-made for Shelton. As the final notes of "Cover Me Up" faded, the applause erupted. The audience was on its feet, and even the judges, who didn't turn around, clapped enthusiastically. Jack Colton, the fireman from Tennessee, looked genuinely shocked by the reaction. He smiled, a little bashful, like someone who wasn't quite used to receiving so much attention, but was deeply moved by it nonetheless. Blake Shelton was the first to speak, still grinning from ear to ear. "Man, let me tell you something," he said, leaning forward in his chair. "That was incredible. Not only do you have a great voice, but you know how to deliver a song. You took a Morgan Wallen hit and made it your own, which is not an easy thing to do. You weren't just singing notes, you were telling a story. And that's what this show is about." Gwen Stefani chimed in next, offering her own praise. "I don't know much about country music, but I know when someone's being real, and that was as real as it gets. You have a gift, and I'd love to help you take that to the next level." Though the choice seemed clear, Jack took a moment to gather his thoughts. You could tell he was genuinely overwhelmed, a mix of excitement and disbelief playing across his face. For a fireman from a quiet town, this was a far cry from his everyday life. But in that moment, Jack wasn't just a fireman, he was an artist, and everyone in the room knew it. Finally, Jack made his decision. "I've got to go with Blake," he said, and the crowd cheered as Shelton jumped out of his chair, thrilled to have landed one of the season's most promising talents. In the days that followed, Jack Colton's performance went viral. Clips of his audition were shared across social media, and country music fans in particular embraced him as one of their own. The authenticity he brought to the stage resonated with people who saw a bit of themselves in him, a working-class hero with a heart full of stories. For The Voice, moments like this are what keep viewers coming back year after year. The show has always been about discovering raw talent, and Jack Colton's Morgan Wallen cover was a reminder that sometimes the best performances come from the most unexpected places. Whether or not he goes on to win the competition, Jack's performance has already made its mark. The fireman from Tennessee has officially caught fire. Sometimes the best performances come from the most unexpected places. Whether or not he goes on to win the competition, Jack's performance has already made its mark. The fireman from Tennessee has officially caught fire.